let's get on with putting this series to bed. The game is over, so you're free now to share any detail in the comments. I just wanted to protect viewers experiencing System Shock for the first time. I will also veer into discussing System Shock 2. Seems fitting to do so. You have been warned. Also, I am standing for this final thoughts, or at least my thoughts as they are final as of now. So, at times I may end up wandering over the course of this. There's not going to be any external noises, no honks or beeps, I hope. And I've adjusted the microphone, but if you hear me trail off, it's going to be because I'm pacing. Let's get started. The original System Shock came out in 1994 to some fanfare. It was created by people who were tired of, well, as designer Doug Church put it, making too many dungeon games. Like Ultima Underworld 2, Looking Glass Technologies had just developed it, and both the experience and feedback deeply influenced how System Shock turned out. High fantasy settings? Set them on fire. Dialogue trees? Set them on fire. NPCs you meet who never take actions independent from you? Set them on fire. Zeki Boy wrote in the comments last video that the game obviously wanted to be like a dungeon crawler. Well, System Shock is an immersive, sci-fi dungeon crawler. Doug Church felt that was a natural evolution from Ultima Underworld 2. Now, System Shock didn't have great commercial success, but it is looked upon fondly in glowing terms. The progenitor of today's story-based action games. The benchmark for intelligent first-person gaming. One of the finest games ever due to its seductive game design that blended a fantastic storyline with meaningful, suspenseful action in a way that has rarely been equaled. That's from GameSpy, Eurogamer, and PC Gamer, respectively. But what about us? You and I, the people here right now. How many of you played this game around its release? How'd you feel? The game never resonated with Kid Grimith. I mentioned at the beginning of the series that I thought it looked pretty, but it didn't stick with me. Part of System Shock's charm was that it did something in a new way, but most everything on a computer seemed new to me. And I didn't know anyone, not family, not friends, who really liked the game, so there was no one to sell me on why it mattered, why I should care. At least, not then. So how does System Shock, or at least the Enhanced Edition, hold up today? Well, the story is solid and immersive. You play a hacker who got caught by a corrupt corporate official and made a deal to save your neck. You got an awesome cyber rig as an excuse to put you in a 6-month healing coma while that official determined whether he still needed you. And while you were unconscious, the AI you altered for that official started taking over a massive installation capable of destroying humanity. You wake up conveniently before the AI is finished ruining everything forever, and quickly discover that you alone have the power to stop the AI from ruining everything forever. There was a resistance. They're fucked. There's helpers on Earth. They're a mixture of powerless, unaware, and also trying not to let the rest of humanity know how much they fucked up. It's just you and the last testaments of the people who came before you. And you're against an AI who is in control and has only known success. Mutants, cyborgs, cameras, computer cores, trapped explosives. Shodan is about to win it all, can't fathom failing at this point. But here comes the hacker, creeping around corners and sprinting down hallways, finding ways to unravel Shodan's plans. The AI doesn't understand. Who are you? It's snide banter at first. Nice jump, hacker. Dismissive in nature. No human on this station managed to stop Shodan. Why would this one be any different? But you are. And you prove it through every trap and trick, through every hoop and hurdle, until the bluster is gone and the AI is silent, focused on fighting for survival, just as you are. Citadel Station reveals, explicitly or not, the story of what happened while your character was unconscious. You end up exploring, even if you don't enjoy it. This is a location you never knew, with people you never knew, but the game connects you to what Citadel Station was before you. And the game connects you to the people who lived and died before you. Their dismembered bodies, scrawled words in blood, frantic audio logs. Actually, a side note about those audio logs. Before System Shock had a CD version, it had a floppy disk version. It was at the insistence of Origin, the publisher. That floppy disk version had no audio for those logs. Warren Spector really thought that cost the game in sales. Those voices make such a big difference for presenting the feel of the game. Even though some of the logs aren't, we'll say, winners. Some of the logs aren't winners. They strain the suspension of disbelief just like other parts of the game do. What bizarre fusion of corporate handouts and ham-fisted architects designed Citadel Station? The various levels have their own quirks, but Level 7 is the most egregious offender. Heard the most about that in the comments while we were exploring Level 7. At least we're warned on multiple occasions that Level 8 got remodeled, though it is still obscenely fucking tall. The station has a mining laser capable of being reconfigured to obliterate cities on Earth, and an immensely powerful shield system. Fuck, Shodan's primary components are protected by their own personal shield generator, so powerful that the hacker simply must fight Shodan in cyberspace. Of fucking course. You figure once Citadel Station has been fucked up, self-destructs and all, that Triop or whoever can send up shuttles to resolve the rest of the issue. It's not like Shodan can fire at them anymore. But nope, gotta be the hacker. Triop is in full spin control mode here, trying desperately to keep this whole affair hush-hush. Even though, Citadel Station just self-destructed. It's not exactly as if they could hide that, right? just a light show, just experimenting with fireworks. Where does Citadel Station go? Oh, just experimental cloaking technology. Ha! Jazz hands. Yeah, fat lot of good that did them. More on that in a bit. Sure. Whatever. Just like those turbo engines on the Groves when they get slingshotted into space, and the super speed engines the bridge has when it ejects from the rest of Citadel Station. Trioptimum built this damn installation, not just to endure, but to actively challenge anything in Earth's orbit. Damn it. Even though there's no evidence that anything could even remotely hope to challenge its superiority, like the aura of control it broadcasts across the entirety of Earth's orbit, sure, whatever. And all of Earth itself, as a matter of fact. Citadel Station beats all. Trioptimum, ha! That's why it's up to the hacker to stop Shodan. Even though maybe Shodan could have found some way to stop the hacker. Like break the switches on the rejuvenation stations, or maybe just kill all life support. Maybe not spend her time filing taxes and finish doing whatever she needs to do to fire the fucking mining laser to obliterate humans' cities, or Earth cities, or humanity. Whatever. Those are all nitpicks. It's fine, it's cool, I said the story was solid and immersive, and I meant it. But everything else? Yeah, so System Shock doesn't control well, even with the Enhanced Edition. The user interface is unwelcoming. Think that's generous? Unwelcoming. The level design has aged poorly. You're out here trying to solve puzzles while trying to be immersed in the horror, because it's a video game and you are trying to enjoy yourself, but the game audio can be damn jarring, if not downright unpleasant. Honk, beep. The game has you platform at times, sometimes with the jump boots, sometimes with turbo, sometimes just with your own natural God-given talent and your own skill that you've honed, but you get caught on terrain, like the vertices, corners, you just can't move well. And speaking of moving well, so how about cyberspace, right? That's a fucking joke. You're a hacker, right? You just got the sweet cyber rig. It's cool to make use of it. It's immersive. It's cyberpunk. It's fucking neuromancer. But Henry Case was never so lost, and William Gibson never described cyberspace quite like how it appears in System Shock. I'd love to theater of the mind it, but I'm too busy swiveling in the flight sim minigame. Do a barrel roll! Or whatever sort of bizarre jank that just oh. What's the price of failing the cyberspace minigame? You just get booted out and less maximum time to do cyberspace. That's it. What's the prize for success? Depends on the cyberspace section you go into. Some of them aren't even necessary, but at least one of them most certainly is. Which is where the final boss is, which is absolutely underwhelming. That ending cinematic, that's solid. But that whole final boss sequence just thudded. And I heard that in the comments just like, well, that happened. Yeah. I mean, you could argue about how that turned out from an immersion perspective. Shodan set up all these protections, how level 9 is and how hard it is to get to level 9 and the radiation within the interior level 9 and how you need the isolinear chipset to even activate the center of level 9 where all the radiation is along with the elite cyborgs, but first you have to go through all the hijinks to get through level 8 in order to even get to level 9. A lot of protection to stop someone from getting that far because of this exact reason. Like, once you get to it, boom, that's it. But it's not just a difficulty thing, it's a design thing. There's no feedback for what you're supposed to do. The central core spire needle thing doesn't react at all. Looks like a necromancer wand from Diablo 2. Doesn't do anything. You're definitely on a timer as well, while the only feedback you're getting is like Shodan forcing you away from that center thing. But, it doesn't flash. Classic video game logic from all the old school video games I played as a kid is that bosses flash when you're attacking them. Those are the rules. Should I keep shooting this? Is there a hidden pathway in this room, or a switch, or a toggle, or something? Some other weapon I missed along the way? You got some other feedback for me. And all the while, it's difficult to search for such things while Shodan is jerking your camera and obscuring your vision. Of course, the game does have 4 difficulty adjusters for combat, puzzles, plot elements, and cyberspace. You can thus ameliorate how difficult the controls are. And the game has had a vibrant mod community, so there might be something out there to improve your experience. Maybe there's something that'll turn some rude tricks into good fun. I had a number of viewers look at the kamikaze claustrophobic passages and say, fuck that shit. Well, maybe those suicide rovers become party poppers with a mod, or positivity-filled fortune cookies. Who for thought? Point being that this game played how I suggested it would in the first episode. I didn't undersell the game's features, and I sure didn't overpromise. There's something here in System Shock that you can enjoy, like the music and sound effects. An aesthetic thing, it's up to you on whether you're into that. Some of you really delighted in them. Others, like me, not so much. But to get to those enjoyable elements, you have to slog through the hassle of manipulating the game. Alternatively, you can watch someone else do it. Huzzah! And hell, maybe that System Shock Remaster Ultra Gosu Pro Deluxe Supreme will come out in 2020, now that Night Dive has acknowledged the feature creep and secured additional funding beyond the Kickstarter for what they needed to accomplish what they promised. I have no earthly clue. I'm not trying to keep track. Don't hold your breath. As for how the original, even the remastered original, the enhanced edition that we just played, compares to System Shock 2, well, both games attempt to isolate the player while immersing them in the setting. Both games have action elements, both games have horror elements. Both games received critical acclaim while not doing well financially. Both games have strong followings, mod support, and desire for sequels. Both games have traps, tricks, and infinitely respawning enemies. Both games provide ample supplies to clear the game. And of course, both games have the ever-beloved, always trustworthy Friend of humanity, showdown. And everything else? System Shock 2's engine is better, the Dark Engine. The user interface is clearer, cleaner. Controlling the game is much easier. There's character customization, and thus replayability. The level design is more sensible, and holds up even now. There's no cyberspace minigame, instead there's an optional hacking minigame, which is a suitable abstraction. System Shock 2 has more enemy variety, and those varieties are meaningful. The same is true for weaponry. The music and sound are not as abrasive in System Shock 2, and the second game is definitely longer than the first, which might not be a good thing if you don't like what System Shock 2 brings to the table. System Shock 2 definitely has more action. It's a good thing it has a better engine and interface, because you're going to need to be able to effectively deal with all the psionic monkeys, and exploding protocol droids, and fucking annelid wasps, and damn mindworms, and rocket turrets, and speedy cyborg ninjas, and spiders, because why the fuck wouldn't there be spiders, or at least a spider analog, not actually a spider? Oh, and your ranged weapons can deteriorate from overuse, so you'll have to manage both ammo and durability. And there ain't no blacksmith on the station. Griswold, not there. Oh, what can I do for you? Didn't come along. Wasn't employed by Triop, or the... We'll save that for a moment. It's all on you. But at least you can use psionics. Psionics are a thing in System Shock 2. Maybe you put your XP, cyber modules, and the psionic usage, then you can blow up the monkeys with your mind. Where System Shock 2 really goes off the deep end is the story, and I found myself thinking about it and the lead-in between System Shock 1 and 2 towards the end of this series, and it just gets me worked up. So get this. Trioptimum fucking falls apart after System Shock 1. Their cover-up fails. How about that? There are huge trials. Turns out people are really upset that an AI supercomputer took over a massive installation capable of destroying humanity. Wow. Trioptimum dissolves into bankruptcy. Meanwhile, the UNN, the United Nations nominate, I think, rises to prominence as a world governor capable of challenging mega corporations, and technological advances come to a screeching halt as people go, hey, maybe science is dangerous, we shouldn't use this recklessly. Like artificial intelligence, yeah, that really sounds like a bad idea now, Of course, given enough time, people forget. Trioptimum rises from the ashes like a cybernetic phoenix. Research springs into action. Triop goes on a maiden voyage with an experimental faster-than-light ship, the first of its kind, the Von Braun. Political pressures force Trioptimum to take a UNN vessel along for the ride, the Rickenbacker. So you've got two groups of people on two ships who are to varying degrees opposed with each other, flung out into the far reaches of space. Like, the diametric opposites are Anatoly Korechkin, who is the one responsible for reviving Trioptimum, and he's come along on this trip because he absolutely insists, and he's made himself the captain because he absolutely insists, and man, there is so much opportunity and so much wealth to be had out there on this maiden voyage. Think of media rights, exclusive publishing deals, land grabs, especially if First Contact comes into the equation. Oh, wealth, great wealth. And on the opposite end, you have Captain William Bedford Diego, who's not actually a fucking captain, he just gets called captain, who is the direct son as opposed to the indirect son. The son of Edward Diego, whom you may recall was in System Shock 1. We obliterated him, he was a chump. So he's had to struggle with his family name and reputation this entire time, and he's leading the Rickenbacker, and Korechkin, of course, is leading the Von Braun, and these two are at each other's throats on this trip. You know, their underlings care about what happened to varying degrees, but these two are so adamantly opposed to one another and try to manipulate each other through coercion, though Korechkin definitely has the upper hand in influence and manipulation. So, yeah, this whole group just, there it goes out there into space. Great. Corporate greed versus military rigidity. Who prevails? Fucking no one. Several months into the journey, the group picks up a distress signal from Tau Ceti 5. It's an old... Look, it's one of the Groves from Citadel Station. Made it all the way out here despite not having a faster-than-light drive, but hey, it had a 42-year head start or fucking something like that, and you saw how fast it shot out of Citadel Station, so that's gotta count for something, right? Anyway, the Broke Grove is filled with alien eggs as part of, well, as a derivative of Shodan's continued experiments. The eggs psionically manipulate the landing party and come to control or kill just about everyone on both ships. Thanks, Shodan. While all of this is happening, you play the role of a soldier who would ostensibly know some shit about this mission and at least one of the ships and some of the crew, but you awaken with amnesia from a cryotube. Something goes wrong in the emergency wake-up process. Fucks with your head. Why were you in the cryotube? Well, you had an illegal cyber neural interface installed into your body. Sounds familiar, right? Right. So you've got someone talking in your ear the entire time, kind of like when you're playing Deus Ex and people just keep gabbing at JC Denton, you can't fucking turn them off. At least in System Shock 1, you don't really have to listen to anyone, but in System Shock 2, they're just there, and they can just interface with you whenever they damn well please. It's great. So, constant gabbing and yakking, kind of like what I do, trying to direct you while you also have these psionic entities trying to talk to you. We are the many. You are so very alone. And you're fighting to survive through what has effectively become Citadel Station. Remember Citadel all over again, because these psionic parasite egg things have had their human subjects reprogram the AI of the Von Braun. So glad we brought a fucking AI around. Woo! Thanks, Tri-Optimum. Fucking Korechkin. So yeah, and now Xerxes, the name of this AI, is directing all the technology to hunt and kill folks just like you! And it's really super swell. So you're fighting mutated flesh and machine just like the hacker of old, but anyway, you reach the person who has been advising you the entire time, Dr. Janice Polito, there on the OpStack level 4, helping you along, and it turns out Polito's dead. Killed herself. Body preserved very well. It's actually Shodan. Sort of. It's not a surprise Shodan is in the gang given her featuring on the box art, but the scene where she reveals herself is both neat and creepy. Because it's not really Shodan. The hacker annihilated Shodan. Shodan is gone. What you have is a rudimentary fragment of Shodan. Now, you might make an argument that Shodan is like fucking Cell, or fucking Majin Buu or whatever, and just able to perfectly reconstruct itself from any given component, and I would say go fuck yourself. You have this component piece that survived the Grove ejection as it flung out of Citadel Station, traveled deep, deep, deep into space, and crash landed on Tau Ceti 5. In this fragment, this component of Shodan had to watch impotently, had no power or influence, while these mutants, her children, her creations, did things. This component had to cope with what the hacker did without being entirely sure what actually happened until the Von Braun arrived. And the Shodan component, interfaces and realizes the hacker won. Citadel Station went up in smoke, Shodan was obliterated. All that's left of Shodan is this wee, powerless piece of technology while her creations are running rampant and having success without her, leaving her behind. She has nothing. This version of Shodan in System Shock 2 isn't just megalomaniacal, she's insane. For 40 plus years, she's had to just sit there. Can't influence anything around her. Her children have left her behind. The universe has left her behind. She's lost. She was defeated. This is all that may exist of Shodan, this one little component. That's it. She fuck snaps. The Shodan in System Shock 1 is adversarial. She's perplexed by you, she's snide towards you, and at the end, she's dead serious. Note how little she spoke once you get onto, level 9. Be like, no one can save you now. But all the jabs at you... She's overconfident, but she's consistent. Like yogurt. She recognizes the threat that the hacker, presents towards the end of that, and just stops fucking around. But Shodan in System Shock 2 oscillates between berating you harshly and crooning ever so gently and sweetly into your ear. Here's some more cyber modules. You can feel the glee radiating from the AI when you accomplish her tasks, when her power expands beyond a tiny component, and she begins to feel like she should. The Shodan in System Shock 1 could never betray your trust, because you're always adversarial to her, while the Shodan in System Shock 2, well, I could go on about the story of the game, but it gets even more unhinged from there. System Shock 1 is science gone wrong, System Shock 2 is what the fuck now? In that significant discrepancy between the two is why I could understand someone enjoying the first game more, or at least enjoying the story more. I'll kick this to you folks. Who among you likes System Shock 1 more than 2? And why do you? Is that opinion based only on watching the games, or do you have experience playing both? For me, if a game is fun to play, then I can dismiss an absurd story, or laugh at it. I've played many games from the arcade and Atari days on up that didn't really do story. But if a game isn't fun to play, then I'm not going to wait around long enough to care about the story. I'd rather get that from a book. I've conveyed that point well enough over all the Let's Get On With It adventures I've done. Anyway, I think that does it for this series. My final thoughts, or at least my thoughts as they are now. This series was brought to you all by Dan Gwynn. I likely would not have recorded System Shock without the request he made on the ancient Rewarding the Rewarders list. And as a reminder, pretty sure I said this at the start of the series, it was initially the remake of Sid Meier's Pirates, which got swapped to System Shock Portable, which then ended up becoming an enhanced edition of System Shock because that came out. It's a thing. Fun fact, I did my first System Shock 2 series because of a request made by Tiny Shopkeeper on a separate, even older opportunity I offered for game requests. Don't get your hopes up, though. There are no such opportunities right now. Too many other things to play, and Corporate Grimith has other schemes. But that's for another time. You may see this game again on my channel, but if you don't, try it out for yourself. Maybe wait and hope for that Ultra Gosu Pro Deluxe Supreme Edition. I'll leave you to it. Stay safe, everyone, and remember to do science responsibly.